During the first season of The Mandalorian, we were introduced to Moff Gideon, a former officer in the Imperial Security Bureau, who quickly established himself as the primary antagonist of the series. The last thing we saw as the season concluded was Moff Gideon using a strange black lightsaber to cut his way out of his downed TIE fighter on the planet Tatooine. If The Mandalorian is the first Star Wars material you've seen outside of the movies, you may be wondering what this lightsaber is, where it came from, and what a former Imperial officer was doing with it. In this video, we'll look at the history of the Darksaber and how it figured into some of the most pivotal battles of both the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War prior to falling into the hands of Moff Gideon. The Darksaber was originally created by Tari Vizsla, the first Mandalorian ever inducted into the Jedi Order, about 1,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. It was a one-of-a-kind creation that the Jedi kept after Vizsla's death, and it remained in their possession for some time until members of House Vizsla stole it during a conflict with the Jedi, and it remained in their possession on Mandalore for hundreds of years afterward. This is why, even though it was a variation on a Jedi weapon and created by a Jedi, it's always been more closely associated with Mandalore than the Jedi, to the point of becoming a revered symbol of Mandalorian independence. The Darksaber was seen on screen for the first time on the Clone Wars animated series, as Jedi Knight Obi-Wan Kenobi found himself at odds with Pre-Vizsla, the last heir of House Vizsla, during a conflict for control of Mandalore. Vizsla had inherited possession of the Darksaber from his ancestors, and used it in his battles with the Jedi after forging an alliance with the Separatists. When that alliance fell apart, Vizsla and his Death Watch group became allied with Darth Maul, who had returned after his defeat on Naboo in Episode 1, and was building a coalition to take control of the galaxy out from under the feet of both the Separatists and the Republic. Friction led to a duel between Pre-Vizsla and Darth Maul, with Maul emerging victorious to claim both control of Mandalore and the Darksaber in the process. With his brother Savage Opress by his side, Maul launched his crusade for control, but in doing so attracted the attention of his former master, Darth Sidious. Sidious decided to pay his former apprentice a visit, leading to a duel which Sidious easily won by killing Savage Opress and subduing Maul, taking him prisoner and essentially enslaving him. In capturing Maul, however, Sidious missed grabbing the Darksaber on his way out, and it was recovered by the Mandalorians. They returned it to Maul once he escaped Sidious's clutches, and he continued to wield it against his enemies until Darth Sidious, Count Dooku, and General Grievous attacked his home planet of Dathomir. While the rest of his race was wiped out, Maul and the Darksaber remained on Dathomir for many years afterwards in hiding. More than 15 years later, the Darksaber once again found its way into the hands of a Mandalorian, when Sabine Wren, along with her friends Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, made their way to Dathomir in search of Maul on an episode of Star Wars Rebels. The trio managed to escape a trap set by Maul and the spirits of the Night Sisters, after which Kanan trained Sabine in lightsaber combat, since the Darksaber was essentially a variation on the design. Sabine brought the weapon home and used it in yet another civil war on Mandalore, as she sought to free the planet from the control of the Empire. After extensive fighting, Sabine relinquished the weapon to Bo-Katan, the sister of the late Duchess Satine, who had ruled the planet during the Clone Wars and was murdered by Maul as he took control of the planet. That is the last known appearance of the Darksaber before it was next seen in the possession of Moff Gideon during the first season of The Mandalorian. How and when Gideon came into possession of the weapon is unknown at this point, but given that he's on a show called The Mandalorian, there's little doubt that this story will be told once the second season begins later in 2020. Until then, thanks for watching, and as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the history of the Darksaber, so please leave them in the comments section below, along with your theories on how the Darksaber got from Mandalore and into the hands of Moff Gideon. If you'd like to help support the Star Wars Wavelength channel, please click subscribe to be notified whenever new videos are posted. Thanks again for watching, and may the Force be with you, always.